Okay, so we go through these debates. I feel like it's helpful to make a video that documents my answer so I don't have to keep on going through this over and over. This guy, Cale Carter, says, so you won't tell me if the original 1611 or the current 1611 is infallible. What was in Greek? The 1611 KJV was in English. But since you will not answer the question, it leaves a huge hole for you to sneak out of and make an excuse like before. Well, no. Actually, he's exploiting an individual text. A publisher can make publishing errors in an individual text. So what I go by is a representative text, which if you go to BibleProtector.com, these downloads of these documents are actually, from what I understand, were generated by comparing multiple King James Bible texts. And in fact, he has tables in his Guide to the Pure Cambridge Edition on that website. It's about a 2 megabyte download, where he has tables comparing particular words from different editions and how this was generated, how this text was generated. So he was relatively transparent. I checked a little bit of this myself, and I'm convinced this is the best text that we have as the representative text of the King James Bible. And what these debates do is let me check for individual verses, which I'll do in this video. In fact, Cale comes up, I asked him I said, where are just 3 of your many changes? So Cale gave me 1611 KJV text says Jeremiah 38:16. So the king swears secretly. The modern KJV says Jeremiah 38:16. So Zedekiah the king swears secretly. So you see Zedekiah is in there. And here he gives an example with a photo. So the king swears secretly in verse 16. You could see it here. So, yes, in Jeremiah 38:16, the original 1611 appears to be missing Zedekiah. But now, if you go and look at the 1769, I guess this is what Cale calls modern. That's on Blue Letter Bible. And it dates back to the modern times of 250 years ago. You can see that it has Zedekiah the king in 1769. So that's about, what, 250 years ago? It's also on, if you look at av1611.com, which they dates to the modern times of around 1900 AD. That's over 100 years ago. We see also that it says, so Zedekiah the king swears secretly. In fact, if I go to a 1735 edition that I have, Cale said he's blessed to have the 1611. I'm blessed to have the 1611 that I got from archive.org. But I'm also blessed to have the 1637, access to the 1769 online, access to a 1900 online, and actually this 1735 edition, which was before 1769, you can see it was already changed to so Zedekiah the king swears secretly. So I believe that would count as a publishing error and not as the King James Bible having just different words for the text, because it's been pretty consistent over the years, and it was changed hundreds of years ago. So I would call that a correction, not an error, because of that. All right, well, Cale does give other examples, so that's fair. Let's look, because I did ask him for 3. He says the 1611 KJV says, Jeremiah 49:1, why then doth their king inherit God? The modern KJV says, why then doth their king inherit Gad? Now, automatically, I see the difference between those is an O and an A. And I can easily see a publisher back in 1611 making that mistake, especially setting the type, the hours it takes to set the type in the print. I mean, I can even see that happening possibly on a modern spelling corrector, let alone back then in 1611. So the question is, when did that error actually occur? Well, that one is easier, because while many of the King James translators were still alive, we see in the edition that was published around 1637, 1638, it says Gad. And it's an easy typesetting mistake, like I said. We can also see that in the 1769 on Blue Letter Bible, we get Gad again. We can also see on the av1611.com website that uses the 1900 edition that Jeremiah 49:1 also has Gad in that spot. So we have very good consistency over most of the 400 years since the King James Bible was published. So I don't feel like that's an issue. Again, I use the Blue Letter Bible text as my representative, and if there's a problem in a particular text, we check different editions. And that's what I did here. So we used the 1637, 1769, and 1900. Everything is at the mouth of 2 to 3 witnesses. In fact, I believe Cale posted a picture of this for Jeremiah 49:1. No, he didn't post a picture. So we'll just assume that he's right. He did say, I am blessed to have a copy of the original 1611 in my home, so I can compare all these changes. Well, you would actually be more blessed if you had different copies of the King James Bible, so you can see if it was just a printing error, Cale, or if it was actually something that was different in many KJBs over the years. What we're looking for is if there's a consistent determinable text for the King James Bible, and that's why I use the BibleProtector.com text. All right, so he says, Damon Lee Gang, can you see the word changes above? Which version is infallible? Well, I told you the one, I used the one at BibleProtector.com. I showed you 2 changes. Okay, well, Cale, I showed you why those 2 changes actually are not authentic, because they're consistent. The correction is consistent through many editions of the King James Bible. He used Ruth 3:15. I told him 3. He says down here, Ruth 3:15, 1611. KJV says he went to the city. The modern translation says she went to the city. So let's have a look at that, right? If you look back at 1637, what Gale seems to refer to as modern, which while the King James translators are still alive, and only 26 years, and remember, things were not published so easily back then. So 1637, while the King James translators, many of them are still alive, is a perfectly reasonable reference. And we see it says she went into the city. In 1769, we see it says she went into the city. And in 1900, Ruth 3:15, you can see it says she went into the city. So again, 1637, 1638, this is a major addition that made corrections to 1611. 1769, another addition that makes corrections, so it has a little bit more weight than other additions. And the 1900 actually has some minor typographical changes that carry some authority. And all those match. So it's matched for literally almost 400 years. So what Cale really needs to do is come up with something that's actually really an inconsistency in the text of the King James Bible. You see? So it's not that you can cherry pick a particular edition of the King James Bible and find an error in that publication. But what we really want to see is something that, shows that these King James Bibles were actually inconsistent over the years, not having a consistent text. That's what the challenge here is for Cal and any other person arguing against the King James Bible. Thank you.